It's all right, ready? What's going on, golf addicts? Welcome to Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. I am one Tour Junkie, David Barnett. The gentleman next to me is another Tour Junkie, Pat Perry. We are here to talk about the Travelers Championship PGA Tour event from Cromwell, Connecticut at old TPC River Highlands. We're going to talk about the golf course really quick. We're going to talk about a couple players that we disagreed with on the podcast that we just recorded, our own podcast. You can go listen to on our YouTube channel as well. But while you're at it and while you're watching this, go ahead and give this a thumbs up and subscribe to the DraftKings channel. Get some notifications when DraftKings puts up a new video. And let's get into this, man. We're going to talk about some sportsbook plays that we like as well near the end and debate a few guys. You know what I mean? Let's do that. Pat, but before we do that, why don't you tell us about the golf course that we're looking at? You all right there, buddy?
Sorry, I lost my pen. I needed
It's
that
very
pen.
late. It's very dark.
Very late. And
Pat's had a few drinks.
Had a few. So this week, you mentioned we're in Cromwell, Connecticut. Great place, I'm sure. At TPC River Highlands. This is a par 70. It is registering just over 6,800 yards. This is one of the shortest courses they will play all year. But you know what? Don't let that think that it doesn't play a little bit difficult. This could be a difficult course. It's not that easy, even though it's short. It is a P-dye design. You've got Poana greens, they like to say, but they putt a little more like bent because there's a little bit of bent mixed in there as well. 156 players in this field, top 65s. Top 65 and ties are going to make the cut. This is going to be interesting for me.
You need to start over. This was really bad. You were messed up. Don't start over for real. I'm just saying it.
No, I'm not going to start over. Top 65 and ties are going to make the cut this week. Another stacked field. I mean, again, third week in a row, we got some incredible players here. You got 8 par 4s on this course that are playing between 400 and 450 yards. I think that's something important to look at. Look at that stat, par 4 scoring in that range. You've got a drivable par 4 in the 15th hole here, which everybody's going to score on. 2 par 5s here, both scoreable. I mean, you've got one that's playing 574, another one's playing 523. Those are two distances that these guys can hit into, so I think that's going to be important to look at. There's going to be a lot of scoring this week with the field, and it's a difficult course, but the field with the way it is and things like that, I think you're going to see a lot of birdies on this course, and so I am going to look at that. As far as stats are concerned, it's a second shot golf course. Strokes gained approach is going to be important this week, and greens and regulation. I like course history a little bit, but mainly from a course fit type standpoint. From the guys that normally play well here, because look, you can be long, you can be short. I mean, you look at past champions. Bubba's won here 3 times. He's as long as they come. Then you have like Chezical Reavy last year that won. He's a shorter guy. Jordan Spieth is short, I think, just because he's short in stature and short in whatever else. Anyway, so there you go.
I think he's taller than you, actually.
I don't care. So there you go. That's the course breakdown.
Okay.
It's been the most incredible course breakdown you've ever heard in your life, and I'm ready to get talking about some players. You add anything you've got there.
I think I probably need to add something for credibility's sake. It is, I do agree with you. It's for sure going to be a birdie fest. I told Pat on the podcast, I could see this thing being higher scoring than what we saw last week when Webb Simpson won at 22 under. I think this could get to 23. I think it's going to be a scoring fest. Another week where we've never seen a field as stacked as this for this tournament. So I think course history, you can kind of throw it out. Anybody can win. Pat mentioned that. I do think I want to hit on this because this is something proprietary to the Tour Junkies here. We talked to 2 caddies today, both on the course today and both with experience at TPC River Highlands, who said this thing putts like bent all the way through and through, putts like bent grass. There is some POA mix, but the POA really just makes them a little more firm to hit into and chip onto and maybe a little faster. Not as receptive as a pure bent grass, but they putt and they roll pretty pure, pretty true, a lot like bent. So if you're looking at putting stats, which we think you should, you need to look at long-term putting on bent grass surfaces. But yeah, it's
Do you
going to
want
be
to know
fun.
what I think about that?
What do you think about that?
Screw TPC River Highlands for telling us that they have Poana greens and then they put really like bent. I mean, that's just effed up as far as I'm concerned. Like, just like tell us, like, if you like, just tell us like what the greens are going to putt like. Don't be putting like Poana greens and then they don't putt like that. It's ridiculous.
It's all smoke and mirrors with TPC River Highlands, really. It always has been.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, let's get
whoever that superintendent there can. Anyway,
okay.
Go ahead.
Why don't you, so that you get more of your talking out of the way before you have more sips, why don't you tell me who you want to debate me on real quick? Let's do that first.
You know what? Here's who I want to debate you on, and that is Scottie Scheffler.
Ooh.
You like some Scottie Scheffler this week, and I just don't get it. Like, look, everybody was high on Scottie Scheffler leading up into the Colonial and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, blah, 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 blah. He was 14% owned at the Colonial, did not play well at all. And you know what? He didn't do anything right, really, that you got to do well here. I mean, other than, and I'll say this, his approach game was good. His putting sucked. Around the green sucked. I just feel like Scottie Scheffler is going to be way too high owned, another popular guy this week that I just don't want any part of. So I need to know why I should go back to the well with Scottie Scheffler after he finished 55th at the Schwab when a ton of people owned him. Give me some examples now.
Well, I don't think he's going to be super chalk. I mean, he was 14% owned at the Schwab, okay? 14%. That's not like super chalk. And then
in a field like this, that's a little bit more chalky, though, when you think about it. In a field this, it is.
Diluted ownership. I get that, but I mean, it's not the percentage isn't so high that you lose any leverage. I don't think that's true in GPPs. He has played, I want to say, since he turned pro or since he earned his tour card at the beginning of 19, or for this season, he's played 19 events. He's only missed 2 cuts in 19 events. He's got a 7th, a 3rd, an 18th, a 5th, a 3rd, a 15th. Played well in the WGCs. I think he's got big time game, and I think he can compete with big time players. He is a tee to green monster. Hits it plenty far off the tee, gains strokes off the tee almost every single event. Iron play was already sharp out the box at the Charles Schwab, gaining nearly 3 strokes in approach that week. So the irons and the driver doesn't seem to be rusty at all. The putter seems pretty rusty. Now Scottie's never been a great putter, but he still putted worse that week than he typically does. But when you look over his season so far and you go beyond just the last 2 weeks, he ranks top 3rd of the field in greens in regulation. He's 12th in strokes gained off the tee. He's 20th in strokes gained par 4 scoring. He's $7,600, and I think he gives you – I actually believe that you actually have win equity with Scottie Scheffler at this event. I think he can actually win this golf tournament, not just finish top 5, top 10. So, and I don't think he's going to be that high owned. I think a lot of people are going to want, Corey Connors, Joel Damon, Brian Harmon, Viktor Hovland down in that range. I think a lot of people are going to lean that way. I could see him not getting more than that 13% that he was at the Schwab, and maybe less after the Schwab. So I think, dude, he's a big time player. Don't sleep on Scottie Scheffler in all the Morikawa. I mean, I love Morikawa, and I think Morikawa is better. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
but
well,
of the rookies on tour right now,
calm down.
I know. Of the rookies on tour right now, Morikawa is everything, right? But I'm just saying, don't sleep on Scottie. Don't sleep on Scottie. I have somebody.
I'm about to go to sleep myself, but you go with whoever you're about to go with here.
I have. We didn't talk. You mentioned this player, but I didn't really push back on you that much. You're gonna have to do a lot of work to sell me on Sergio, because I think this is a classic case of some recency bias. You see a little Sergio Garcia getting some TV time at the Heritage, finishes 5th. And you think, oh, here he is, the major champion finally, the long-standing ball striking extraordinaire Spaniard in Sergio Garcia, and you just think, oh, I gotta get on the Sergio train before it's too late. Now, he does have a good record here. I will say that. He's only played here twice in the last 5 years with a runner-up and a 25th. Weak fields, but, I'll give it to you. He's a terrible putter. One of his worst surfaces is bent, but he's kind of bad all the way around, I guess. And what happened last week at the Heritage, this is my biggest point. He gained 10 strokes with his irons. 10. Do you know how almost impossible that is? Like, even for Sergio Garcia. As I scroll all the way down, as I'm looking at PGA Tour strokes gained data, as I scroll all the way down to 2012 years after our Lord, I can find one other week where he gained that many strokes. One other week, all the way down to 2012, and that was in 2016 at the Honda. He is going to regress. He lost 3 strokes putting last week. His off the tee numbers, 1.5. Okay, it's kind of meh for Sergio. He's going to regress. And so that, with the recency bias and the price tag, I mean, 8,500. I mean, he was a lot lower than that last week, I think. So I'm not buying it with Sergio at all. You're not. No matter what you say, actually, I'll go ahead and let you know, you will not sell me. You will not.
Okay, well, I don't. Well, then why are you?
So you need to sell the viewer.
Yeah. Well, why are you asking me? I mean, I don't like. Look, here's the thing. I mean, you mentioned a lot of the things that should make you want to play Sergio. 10 strokes gained approach last week. 10. Okay, that's pretty damn good. All right. Throw out the putting, because we know putting is variable every week. And bent grass actually is one of his better surfaces. I mean, it's not like he won the Masters. That's on bent grass greens. It's not like that's a terrible surface for him. So he's fairly comfortable there. So I'm not going to sit there and say he can't putt on bent grass greens. And if he's playing well right now, and look, before that at the Schwab, he wasn't terrible. I mean, other than losing strokes.
I would debate that.
Other than losing strokes putting, and he was not as good as on approach as he was last week. But you know what? We like to go on recent form, and we like to go on what he's been doing recently. I think this is a good course for him. You mentioned the history. He hasn't played here in a while, but here's the reason why. Because it's always around the U.S. Open, and they tend to skip this tournament when it's either before or after the U.S. Open. So I just think that this is a great spot for Sergio, and he's played pretty well this year when you think about it. And you know what? I don't think the ownership is going to go up at all at 8,500. Or am I getting that right? 8,500? Anyway, at that number, I don't think he's really going to go up all that much. I don't.
Yeah,
because they raised the price.
I don't think he is either.
The ownership's not going to go up. It's not going to go up. I guarantee you, it's not going to go up.
I would debate that he's also played well before. His last top 10 was in May of 2019. It's been a year since his last top 10. Yeah, you can give me a 37th at the WGC Mexico in a field of 65 players. So he hasn't been playing well. He's been broke Sergio for a minute.
Well, I'm just saying, I think this is a good spot for Sergio. He's just coming off a good event. If you're going to play Sergio, why would you not play him coming off a 5th place finish? Why would you not? Like, why would you avoid that?
Because his price went up, and he's going to be 12, 13, 14% owned.
No, he's not. I don't think. I think because of because where he was last week as far as his price and how much they increased it, I don't think that ownership is going to be where you think it's going to be.
All right. Well, hopefully your DK Sportsbook picks are something more agreeable to me than your Sergio pick. What you got?
Well, you say that as if agreeable to you means like you're like the high and almighty decider of what is agreeable and what is not agreeable and what should be said and what should not be said. So maybe you should start with your picks, and then I will be the decider of what's good and what's bad.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling that you got some pretty bad ones. I'm going to say the cuss word though.
Okay. I'll start with the shorter guys first. I'm going to go with DJ and Justin Rose, both at 28-1 outright. DJ's showing me a little life here in the last couple weeks that he didn't show pre-COVID lockdown. Justin Rose is showing a lot of life after ditching Hanma for the TaylorMade irons. like DJ and Rose there at 28-1. At 40-1, I got a little hankering for Tony Finau. I mentioned this on the podcast. Maybe it's a little gut feeling, but I got a little gut feeling about Tony this week, that it's going to be a good week for him. Going to have a lot of wedges into greens, can score on a lot of these par fours and par fives, as you mentioned. You know, and I feel like he's just kind of hanging around, but as he always does. But at 40-1 for him, a guy that I absolutely love this week is VIKTOR HOVLAND at 60-1. Pat, man down. Man down. Are you good?
I was getting my pen that I lost. I mentioned that earlier. I lost that.
I thought you just were slowly passing out.
I'm scratching off HOVLAND because I had him already listed. So
yeah, love VIKTOR here. He checks every single box. The chipping, the notable poor chipping before COVID has started to show signs of life these last 2 weeks. Maybe that's just, you know, noise. But I know it's something he worked on during quarantine. So like him at 60-1. Couple long shots. Max Homa, who I know you also like, at 150-1. His game's coming around. Last week, you know, I think the putter is really what's holding him up, but he putts well on these kind of surfaces. I like Max a lot. I think he's a great value. He's a PGA Tour winner at a Wells Fargo, which is a pretty good field. It's not like this, but it's a pretty good field. Finally, I got a couple matchup bets that I like. I didn't know that was coming. Yeah, no. I like VIKTOR HOVLAND at -103 over Joaquin Niemann. I think there's some recency bias there. I won't get into that. I like Brandt Snedeker at +120 over Jason Day. Now, both of these guys are major withdrawal or COVID risks. They both tend to withdraw from golf tournaments at an alarming rate. But I think this course is a great course for Snedeker. Jason Day is not the same. He's really not played well at all. I think this could be an interesting event. And then finally, even though I do like Max Homa, I like the value in this head-to-head bet where Harry Higgs is +110 on Homa. Harry's been playing really solid lately. Great ball striker, ton of confidence. We had him on the podcast a couple months ago. A ton of confidence in this kid. And I just like the plus money at +110 for that matchup. So there you go. Pat, why don't you button us up? What you got?
All right, so I will finish this up here. The shortest odds guy I like is Brooks Koepka at 22-1. I think that is a good bet. Also like Abraham Answer at 33-1. Coming off of a great week here at the Heritage just this past week. I like Corey Connors as well. Longer shot at 90-1. Great ball striker. Another great course fit for him this week here at the Travelers. And then longer shot, Cam Champ at 175-1. I think he is another good play. The guys, I mean, it's basically like a par 69, par 68 for him. I think he can really just destroy this course. Even though he missed the cut last year, I don't care. I like him at 175-1. A couple top 10 bets that I like. You mentioned Harry Higgs in a matchup bet. I like him at 16-1. I think that's a good top 10 bet. Another one that I like is Doc Redman at 20-1. He is the top to finish top 10. Aaron Wise at 33-1. And then Henrik Norlander at 28-1. I think those are all good top 10 bets that you can make this week as well on the DraftKings Sportsbook. So there you go. That is my bets for the week.
I like him. I like a lot of agreement on the sportsbook stuff. That's good. That Norlander, man, that dude, you talk about a guy who can ball strike but can't putt his way out of a freaking – I mean,
he needs to have a good putting week, but we'll see.
You know what he needs? He needs – somebody hit up Brad Faxon for Henrik Norlander. If I had enough money, I would call Brad Faxon, and I'd say, Brad, I will pay you $25,000 to spend 2 weeks with Henrik Norlander. And then I'm going to go to Henrik and go, Henrik, I get 10% of your winnings or 5%, 4%, whatever, of your winnings for like the next 3 years based on this lesson. You know what I mean? Like if he could just putt, he'd be amazing. Ball striking is killer. Doesn't miss a fairway, doesn't miss greens. Can't putt worth a lick. Never been able to putt worth a lick. All right, well, that's it. Too much talk on Henrik Norlander. This has been TJ After Dark presented by DraftKings. Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, give it a subscribe. Go check out our YouTube channel. May your screens be green and have a fantastic week. We'll be back next week. See ya.